Coffee has a cultural significance that is far greater than any other drink, not only as a kind of get up and go in the morning, but also as something to get super serious and scientific about for coffee nerds like me. But for me and many others, coffee is so much more than just a popular caffeine drink or a science experiment in optimizing flavor profiles. In this video, I'm going to explain why coffee is so popular, not just in terms of flavor and caffeine, but also the social and cultural aspects. Coffee has become an inherently social drink. When you message your friend and you say, hey, let's go get coffee sometime, you're not saying, I want to get coffee and you can tag along if you want. You're saying, I miss you, I want to talk with you, and you use coffee as a conduit to connect. Even though I'm not a huge fan of their dessert-like coffee recipes, Starbucks was one of the first companies to really realize that coffee is so much more about coming together and connecting with other people, and as a result, they've become one of the most recognizable and profitable companies in the world. This isn't just true in coffee shops, this also extends to the home. When you're making coffee for a friend or a family member, it's a great way of showing affection that I think is really underrated in our society. Dr. Gary Chapman has written about love languages as a way of explaining how people show affection for one another. There are 5 love languages: physical affection, words of affirmation, gifts, service, and quality time. Most people have 2 major ways that they like to communicate their affection, and one that doesn't really mean that much to them. My personal biggest love language was acts of service, which totally explains why I love making coffee for people. 2 love languages in particular stand out to me as ways that we show affection through coffee. One of them is quality time, and the other is acts of service. In my experience, the most common love language is quality time. People love spending time with their friends, and there's no easier way than having a cup of coffee together. For those of us who have a home setup, it can be really nice to make coffee for your friends or family at home as an act of service. Personally, I really love making lattes for my friends with home roasted coffee beans and some really nice latte art poured on top. One of my favorite things to do is to have parties at home and invite my friends over to have home-baked snacks and, of course, coffee. It's something I really enjoy and I miss since the COVID-19 pandemic has made it basically impossible to have friends over, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to get through this soon so we can start having parties like that again. In the meantime, I'll keep making as many coffee videos as I possibly can, so please subscribe if you want to see more of them. Another reason coffee has become such a huge cultural pastime is the joy of finding something new. If you're just drinking coffee for the caffeine, you're missing out on this whole world of beautiful, interesting, rich, and unexpected flavors. I always love seeing the reactions of my friends when they try Ethiopian coffee for the first time, and they say it tastes like blueberries or it's like tea, and they really enjoy it, and frequently they become eager to learn more about tasting higher quality coffee. Of course, a lot of this comes down to exposure, and I find that the more people discover about coffee, the more likely they are to ditch the instant coffee or stop adding sugar. I try my best not to be a coffee snob, and I think it's fine for people to enjoy coffee however they like, and I really think the discovery and finding new things about coffee is one of the things that makes coffee so popular. The atmosphere and vibe of coffee shops is another big reason why people love coffee so much. You might have heard of the Danish word hygge, which is the kind of chill, relaxed vibe you get when you stop to enjoy life. Cafes have really taken this and run with it, with a big focus on interior design and chill music. I guess my family are coffee people because my sister has a wonderful cafe called The Courtyard in Papworth near Cambridge in the UK. I remember how nervous she was when she first opened the shop in 2018, and I think I travelled back to the UK to visit that first week when it opened. 2 years on, the Courtyard has become a local treasure and the whole community loves it there, and I just hope that someday when I start my own cafe, it'll be half as popular and lively as the Courtyard. This brings me to another reason why coffee is so popular, which is mastery and craftsmanship. Most people don't know how to make good coffee. I grew up with my dad asking me to make him coffee with half milk, half water in the microwave with a spoon of instant coffee and a spoon of sugar. Don't look at me like that, I didn't know any better. My first experience of real amazing coffee was moka pot coffee in Parma in Italy. The water there is so perfect for coffee. It makes sense why Italians love coffee so much because their water makes the flavors really shine. It was silky and smooth and rich in comparison to the bitter coffees that I'd been having in the UK, which needed milk or sugar to make them even palatable. I still think that moka pot coffee is one of the most inexpensive and beautiful ways to have coffee, and a long time ago I made a video about it which you can check by clicking up here. Before getting an espresso machine, it was the way I made coffee most of the time in the morning, but once you get into espresso, a whole new world of coffee opens up. Often when I'm making espresso, I feel like I should be wearing a lab coat or something because it's such a precision experiment you're doing when you're trying to make good espresso. If you grind too fine, you might end up with a coffee that's too bitter or no coffee at all. But if you grind too coarse, you might end up with a coffee that's really sour. You're measuring pressure, temperature, brew times, and ratios, and if you make any mistake on even one of these variables, you can end up with a completely undrinkable coffee. That's why the search for the elusive God shot is so exciting for baristas and home espresso aficionados like me. When you find that perfect balance of flavors that bring out all of these interesting tastes in the coffee beans, it's just amazing. It's almost like a religious experience. Speaking of religion, that's another one of the reasons why coffee's so popular. It's kind of like a ritual process. Part of the reason why people come up with all these little rituals is to help them have some certainty in a really uncertain world. I don't know if I'm gonna get hit by a bus on my way down the street tomorrow, but I can control what I do. Having that stability in the humble morning coffee is a little ritual that brings calmness. And I think for a lot of baristas out there, there is a calmness in figuring out and understanding all of these little variables that come to making an espresso. So what about you? Why do you like coffee so much? I hope you've enjoyed this video and now you can see why there are so many coffee nuts who take this hobby so seriously. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you on the next one. Coffee has a cultural significance that... Well, that was a good start. Two love languages in particular stand out to me as ways that we shouldn't. Hanging out and relaxing over a cup of coffee is one of the easiest ways to That's terrible. It feels like I'm doing applied science. It's probably really offensive to people who actually do science. Even though... Okay, calm down. Calm down, Charlie.